All right, so excuse me. We are live, and hold on. Let me change some settings. I want this to be daytime. I don't want to go day night right now. It's just an annoyance at the moment. So I'll put it at noon, and yeah. So here we go. We are playing City Skylines. I need to actually rename this. No, Wallaby Island. All right. Still didn't do it. All right. There we go. So, uh, here we are. We're playing. We have an island city. We do have mainland over here, and this is where I'm dumping my crap out. I had some other stuff going on. I was trying to connect to the highway here, but it wasn't working. So I deleted all that because it was costing me a bunch of money. Seems like the harbor was the best way to go to bring people in. So for now, that's all we're gonna have. Um, and we are at least making some money now, so that's good. And we got the beginnings of a city here. So right now we have like a little neighborhood here. I want to build a little park here. So I'm going to go ahead and set up that we'll have park here. Just like that. Beach City Park, okay. And then we'll go to Parks and Plazas, and we'll just make it a nice little city park here. We'll have a main gate right about there. And we'll have a couple of side gates over here and over here. And then we'll build out some pathways here. Now, why is it snapping that way like that? Oy, what a pain in the butt. Control A, maybe. There we go. And we'll just kind of have it go literally right around the edge here. And I'll give it actually a little bit of room so we can put some stuff out, and then we'll have some walkway that goes right up along the edge again. Just like that, okay? We'll use our move it mod down here, and we'll just kind of move it along. There we go. When you see that little intersection indicator go away, then you know you've kind of got it nice and straight. And so here, what we can do is we can bend this way, so that goes away. And here we can just press Alt and have it snap. There we go. Now we need to have another pathway, and we'll. Oh, that's not what I intended. My apologies. I just wanted to go straight there and have it come straight across here, just like that. Perfect. And you know, in my experience, this is not going to be the most popular park. I like the look of it for the city, and which is why I put it. But to have a really nice, busy park, you know, once this is all built up, you're gonna want to have the park like right in the center, preferably like a walking commute from where people live to where people work. Then it will be very highly used because people will literally go into the park just to get to work. Or to go shopping, or you know, go wherever they like to go. So that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, I haven't really done that here, but it is a tip if you're trying to get a lot of traffic into your park. And what is this? This is the plaza here. I think I'll put the plaza at the end of this little road here. A little pathway, I should say. And we can have the chessboard take place here. There's another big one. Yeah, this one. And we'll do that right across the way from that. And then you can have a couple climbing frames, one here and one there. And then we can definitely have some park piers. So I'll do a big one like right there. Another one like right there. And then we'll do some smaller ones along the way here as well. And we'll do one park info booth, and I'll put that right by the main entrance here. We'll have the park restrooms. Gotta have those. We'll put that pretty centrally located so people can get to that without too much trouble. And a park cafe we'll also put pretty central here. And then we have, of course, the gazebos. And I am running low on money, so that's something I need to think about. Alright. And so, there we go. Now, one thing I need to go through is I will go to my policies here. I will make it... I don't really want to make it the main park. I don't mind doing an advertising campaign. And, yeah, we can celebrate and do even more fun. And I think that'll be great. Okay. And so right now, it's already starting to make more money than it costs, so that's good. It's got a limited entertainment value, so it's never going to be a 5-star park, and that's okay. I don't need it to be. So I just think that looks really nice that you have a park right there on that little outlet there, or the little peninsula, if you will. All right, so excuse me. Now we need to start planning the expansion. So obviously I put some high density here. I plan that, I'm thinking, right somewhere in here, we'll have a park. I don't know, maybe we want to do a park that literally goes all the way through the entire island here. Maybe we want it to go through the entire island, go over to the beach, go around the beach, and then back out to the island, and maybe have like a line there as well. And so maybe we go ahead and define it, and that'll help create some borders for our city, some constraints for our city. Constraints, whenever you're designing anything, are always a great way to really help move the design along. Sometimes when you get like writer's block or whatever the paint equivalent to writer's block is, or you're trying to design a city and you're not sure what to do with it, putting some constraints on it for yourself can often be the difference between a successful design and something that is less than inspiring for yourself. So I'm just going to leave it to there now. We'll extend it at a later date. I think when I buy that land up, I want to make some money before we do that. Maybe we have it go out like that. And we can have it come back around here. So literally there's a pocket inside the park here. Right, and so we literally have this park that meanders throughout the city. And, as we connect it properly, it will do well for us. So that means that this is parkland. So I'm going to delete these roads here, and people will be forced to go around, and that is okay. And so what we want to do though is we'll go ahead and it'll be another city park. I think I don't want to make it a zoo. I don't want to make it a nature preserve necessarily. So we're going to go back to create the main city gate here. City park gate, I should say. And we'll stick it right there. Excuse me again. I don't know why I got just a little something that's causing me to cough. Okay, so and then we'll stick a couple of side gates here, I think, so that people can cross. And I think I want to keep them stuck to the ground here, just like that. Okay. And we'll do a double park plaza here. One there and one there. And we'll go over and let's see here. I don't want to go too crazy on this, especially since I have limited money. We'll do maybe just, I don't know, maybe just an info booth. Where it is. There it is. Okay. An info booth, maybe just like a gazebo. All right. And so as the city grows, I'll also expand the park, particularly this one. And one thing I want to do with that park that I saw is I do want to go over here and I want to, square it off here. I don't want it to be curved like that. There we go. All right, and you can see there's already people using it. There's not much going on, but people are still using the park. And if you go over here to Anchor Hill, you'll see that we had 103, 116. It's making a lot of good money now. And go over here, had 49 people. So this park, which is not as fun as this park ostensibly, is making more money. And the reason why is it's got less expense. It's got more visitors, and the reason it has more visitors is because it's a pathway between this area and that area, and so people will literally walk to get there. Now, one thing I need to do, or I don't need to do, but I want to do, is I got this little pedestrian crossing, and so I'm going to put a pedestrian crossing there. Now, I don't want a light there, and one thing you want to pay attention to when you're doing it on a main avenue like this, if it becomes too busy with pedestrians, what you're going to need to do is figure out a way to either have the road or the pedestrians go up, over, or under the other, because it can get to a point where it will cause a lot of traffic. Right now, there's not nearly enough traffic to justify anything, but that is something to keep in mind. Now, I don't think I'm going to put any kind of freeway system or highway system on here, but you kind of want to have maybe one express route that like starts over here and comes through, and we might want to have it follow this park here on some level. So you have like an express road that comes off of here, and it'll like come around and just have one connection there, and then go around here, and then have another connection there, and then go off to the end of the island. And the reason why it's basically it is a highway, but instead of having it be some big major thing, what I would use would be at most this 4-lane national highway here. And I don't know if I want to do that right now or not. I think I should, but I think I want to expand this out, but I want to keep that in mind when I'm doing that. So I need to somehow define this park beyond just this little thing here. I wish there was a way to just keep that up while I'm building my roads. Is there a way to do that? Over here, I'm looking at my parks. Leisure would be the name. Population. Outside connections. Where's my leisure? Citizen happiness. That is not going to help me. Oh, there it is. That's not helping. Not helping at all. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to define the road first, and then I'll have my park follow it. And so I'll have to redesign the park a little bit. Uh-oh, I'm coming into a water issue because I have a limited water availability, but I'm going to start using this. So I think right now I have a pump. Yeah, I have a water pump over here. And so now I'm going to start using these HXO water treatment tanks. I love these things. It's one of my favorite assets. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a really basic framework for them. I think we'll go ahead and do it over here. I want to do it right next to that. We'll do that. We'll just do that for now. And we will go ahead and do this water treatment plant. Just right there. Okay. And then we'll connect it up to the grid here, or to the water pipe system. And we'll let that go. And in fact, what I can do now that I have that, you know, I don't need all the sewage output. And so I'm going to get rid of it. It's going to actually save me quite a bit of money, I think. Because I don't even need... I don't need that. Come on, I'm trying to delete it. Why isn't it letting me? There we go. I was underground. Oy vey. Let's go ahead and get rid of that too. Yes. Get rid of all this. No need for it. It's almost pointless that I even have this area. I can rebuild that anytime I want to. I feel like an addict. I can do it anytime I want. Anytime I want, I swear. But no, right now it's just costing me money, and so eliminate this, save myself quite a bit of money, and I'll rebuild it back up at a later time when it makes more sense for the city. And all of that pollution will eventually, I think, dissipate. I do have green city, so I could put one of those doodads out there. I don't know where it is. Isn't there like a... There's got to be some sort of... there's some sort of cleaner thing, and I don't remember where it is. I don't know if it was here. Oh, here it is. So it's a floating garbage collector. And so it literally lessens water pollution. A floating building must be placed on the water. So you stick it out here. Don't have the money for it right now, but stick it out here and it'll suck up all that pollution. Of course, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to worry about it. So look at all those buses. Ooh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not enough sewage. So we need to add some more of these. And I'm going to control A, and I'm going to have them overlap a little bit. I like to do this where I have them overlap a little bit. It just makes sense to me that, you wouldn't necessarily have all of that room if you were building these. You'd have them be together. It's a little bit closer than I'd like it to be, and I can always fine-tune that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it be. Saves me some room. and hopefully that ought to fix the water capacity issues. There we go. Okay, we got more than enough now. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just delete that. I think it's unnecessary. Yeah. And this whole line is also unnecessary and costing me money, so might as well delete it. It also makes sense that you wouldn't be getting your water from the sea. I mean, just a pump like that, because this is not really fresh water. In my head, this is all salt water. In fact, this map is based on where I pulled it from was the north coast of Australia. I think it was Forsyth or something similar to that, islands. And so it doesn't make sense to me that you would be pulling the water straight from the sea like that anyway. You know, you'd have to have a desalinization plant, really, is how that would probably work. There we go. All right. Cool beans. All right, so we're now making some decent money. Now I've deleted all that. That was taking a lot of the budget. So let's go to my budget, because I was running into budget problems when I first started this. I was super tired. I wasn't really thinking things through, so as I probably should have. And so let's put everything back to 100%, see if we can manage to have everything be fully funded without losing money. Here we go, everything's fully funded. I'm still in the black, but it is going down, so we'll see how that works. Why do we have all these buses? Is there that many people? What's going on with this line? Let's check this line out. Let's take a look at this line. Okay. So we got 18 buses. They're all bundled up right here. I wonder if it got reset somehow. And they're stuck in a loop, in their own loop, though. That's one thing I can see here. So okay. Let's why is it still okay? Thank you. Let's pause it and fix this. So this is just bad design, right? So they're coming in and they have to go around, and then when they have to come back around to go right, but they can't because they're waiting on this guy. So what shall we do? We shall, I think we just eliminate that. And yeah. You know, the buses would never really be able to turn right there like that, but it's eliminating the problem, and I can do something along the lines. I have this nice little roundabout builder, and so what you do is you click on it, and then you say, okay, what kind of road do I want? And I want maybe like a little tiny cul-de-sac there. Right, and I still can't do that. Select the center of the nothing will be built. Okay. Step 2, select any intersection, the main axis of the roundabout. Nothing will be built yet. That's fine. I know. Oh, close. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so roundabout builder, back. Ecliptic roundabout. Oh, I see. If you want it to be an ellipse instead of just a round. Let's see. It's just not going to work right there. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to extend this out, this road here. And I'm going to do it with this. Extend it out there. And then do this roundabout builder. There we go. Tiny cul-de-sac, but you know what I want to do is, I don't like this. I don't think that was correct. So what I need to do is I need to make the radius like 10. There we go. So it makes the tiniest little cul-de-sac there. There's a hint of green in there, but you know, things will go around appropriately. And let's see how it works. Yeah, see, doesn't that look better for the buses? I think it does. And the buses aren't getting all caught up there, so it's eliminating that traffic issue. Alright, and so then we can go back here, turn that off, and move on with life. Go ahead and might as well delete that. No need to have it till later. You know, at some point it'll extend out. Alright, people are happy there, and seems like people are mostly happy there. Got my dump site there. How is my garbage looking? I need to have more processing capacity. Didn't there used to be an eco incinerator? I thought there was. Maybe it's a recycling center. I'll put one over here. Might as well. Eventually we need to get that incinerator capacity up so that A, it's going to have a lot more garbage trucks to help service everything, and then B, we want to have more incinerator capacity than we have garbage, so that we don't have to just keep on adding landfills, especially on such a small island. You really don't want to have to deal with trash too much. So on some level, I just kind of want it to just take some time and gain some money. That's what I'm looking to do here. But I don't know, we got to do something. So let's go ahead and start planning out this extended park that I'm going to do. So I think the first thing to do would be to, I don't know. I mean, if I extend all this road out here, I don't like that. So I'm just going to do it to like right here. Kind of make this little section of the city. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so now I got my head screwed on straight on what I'm going to do. Let's figure out how we want to do it. So I think we'll have one more super block, and then we'll have a main avenue come in. I think that makes sense to me. So let's go ahead and set up that main avenue. And it'll be like right here. Something like that. Alright. And the question is, do I want it to like curve in and be perpendicular here? I think so. Wouldn't you want that? I would want that. So I'm going to do it straight across here. And then I'm going to have it curve around. Be more or less perpendicular. And then we'll have it go straight. We'll call that the end for now. Alright, and then here we're using just a slightly higher density type street here. But I don't know if I want to use that. Do we have anything over here that I might want to use in its stead? I don't want an asymmetrical 3-lane. Where's my... I'm missing some assets here, I think. I'm missing assets. What's going on with that? Where's my... See this street here? Oh, I see why. Oh, there it is. I had that City Skylines built-in assets selected. I was like, man, where do they all go? Like, they're there, so it's not like they're not loaded in. Okay. Crisis averted. So I think I'm going to use maybe this one, or, this one is pretty similar. It creates parking. There's always, I could go to parking lot roads over here and increase their size. And then at some point, I think I had... Yeah, so I have this parking road as well. That might be a good one to put right here. It'll be basically along the edge of the park here. And so you can use it to park along next to the park. But it's still basically the same capacity as this road, where it's just one lane each way, even though size-wise it is not. So we just have it come out straight. Why not? Why curve it? Start giving it a little bit of a curve. That maybe look better. Have it eventually go around like that. I don't know that I do that on both sides. Just on the one. And then here, well, kind of have it do some sort of matching there. Just like that. And we'll have one road that does go straight. And I'm just going to have it come straight on through to there. And then it can go ahead and go perpendicular from that point. That's fine. Right, and so this is all, if you remember, park. You do need to have some cross streets, otherwise your city's just going to be starved. And so what you got to figure out is, okay, how do you want to treat the pedestrian crossings for this? You want to have a continuous pedestrian crossing. So do the roads bridge over? Do they tunnel under? Do the pathways bridge over? And so you got to just figure that out. And it doesn't have to be the same every time, but you got to think that through. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the pathway bridge over for now. I think I might have here, since it's such a big road, I might have the road like tunnel under there, and I'll figure that out in a little bit. But what I do need to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn on, turn that on, but road guidelines, okay? And so what that's going to allow me to do is kind of really follow this road path here. And going to go to my curvy roads here. There we go. And just go like that. And more or less like that. I don't know why you wouldn't just have it go straight at that point. You might as well, right? I think we'll do it there. And just lay my grid out here. Notice I am making a relatively regular grid. It's not exactly a grid, but it's pretty regular, even though it's curvy and what have you, and there's all kinds of anomalies there that I need to work on as well. But it's a regular grid, and I might have just a smaller road kind of cut through. And I might turn, so I have this little thing, I just right click to enable the toggle, and so now when I draw a road, it won't have any grid here. And I can also click on this and I can update that essentially to have no grid, which I think is something I want for this particular road. It makes sense to me that it doesn't have a grid, at least through there. And I can't do it here because then it would eliminate the grid. It eliminates the grid on both sides. But here it makes a lot of sense. And for the road I'm about to put in as well, I think I'll put this one in. And so this is kind of designed to be a bit of thoroughfare. There you go. Now where you at? Okay. Do something like that. And so now it's a nice, good, tight city grid. I do want to fix some of these heights. So I'm just using the Move It mod. So I click on this button here, and then I click on the nodes or what have you that I want, and then I'm going to just use page up or page down just like you would when you're building them, and it doesn't raise them up and down as by as much. It's not by meters, it's by something smaller, I think. But and you can also like click here and then click this little alignment tool button, click that button right there, and then whatever you have selected will align to whatever you click. And so it'll be the same height, which is a really nifty thing to have. You can also just play it by ear. You don't have to always do it like that. And there's going to be some variation here. You know, but like here, I see no reason why I should have that road lifted up like that. It does not make sense to me. That looks better. All right. Let's do something more like that, I think. All right, so now the question is, what are we going to zone here? So, I have a mod on as well that just maxes out everything, so that basically if I zone it, it will be built. For better and for worse. Oh, so look at this. I had forgotten to turn that off, and so when I built all those, there was no zoning here. So I need to update this. And this is a mod that I'm using to do so that there is zoning for these roads. There we go. Yeah, I might as well turn them off there. There we go. There we go. Don't know why it was turned off there. Okay. So now we have our zoning. Or at least our gridding. So right now, the way I have it set up, and I think I'm going to continue this, is you got this big old zone of residential. But here's the thing. This is the beach. And so what I think is somewhere around halfway through this beach here, I'm going to go from residential, and I want to turn it into a tourist area here. So this will be like a major tourist. This will be the tourist end of the island, and it'll be built up once I've kind of gotten a good core of the island set up here. So I am going to go ahead and continue the residential though here, and then you'll have a strip of commercial that goes along the backbone of the island here, and will also face out along that coast there. And then my industry is all going to be from this over, and there'll be no industry outward here. There's a little bit to be said that I'll have my power and my water there, and so it'll also encompass that area. But besides that, everything else from like here over is going to be purely, I'll probably have some offices or something like that along here. Which makes some sense to me. Or I might have the offices between the residential and the commercial, which also makes actually even more sense. So think it through. So thinking that's my planning ahead. I have that in my head while I'm doing all this. So how high density do I want to do it though? That's the question. If I do high density, it's going to get really packed really quick. So I might do some lower density. I don't know. Might as well just go for the gusto. I'm just going to go for the gusto and have it be my high density. So at some point people are going to complain because they're going to be unemployed and stuff, but I'll manage that in a little bit here. And if you zone it, they will come. I have ensured that with mods. Alright, I think everything is zoned up there. I found something there. Okay. So, that's expanding quickly. And that's going to raise my population significantly, and it's also ought to raise my income significantly as well. So we do need to do some commercial and some industrial to match. Now, the question is what kind, and we need to figure that out. So how I always like to do that is I just go over to the outside connections here. And this is going to tell you what products you're importing and exporting. So I'm exporting a lot of forestry products, which makes sense. I have forestry over here and nothing else. And then a little bit of goods. I'm somehow exporting some ore and some oil, which I don't have any oil or oil industry, but I guess the game just is somehow accounting for that. I'm importing everything on pretty regular basis. I do have a slight need for oil, though I've not zoned any oil. And I'm not going to. I don't want to have oil on the island. It doesn't make sense to me that I would. So, I don't know. I mean, guess I just have some more generic industry here. So, that's what I'm going to do. We're just using this road with the middle turn lane here to do my industry here. And so, just got to continue this grid on, essentially. Just like that. And, oh, come on, there we go. That's what I was looking for. It's not a perfect grid, and that's okay. I don't get too worked up over that normally. Especially on industry, it almost doesn't really matter. Zone all that, make sure we have the water set up, which we don't. So they're going to complain about that pretty quick, so let's go ahead and get that going. There we go. Everybody's happy there now. Setting up quite a bit of industry there. Seems like a lot of it got abandoned. I wonder why. I wonder if we didn't have enough workers, or what it might be is we might need to have some basic education, which would make some sense to me. So we need to set up an elementary school or a couple. I think having one set up right here make a lot of sense. Maybe we do the fancier one, the lower density, and we do the normal one, the higher density, which is not necessarily higher income, so to speak. It's just higher density. And it looks like I forgot to set up my water here, so let's also do that. There we go. There it is. Oh, not enough money. I wonder if I will need to and can take out a loan, because I took a loan out earlier. And just take that loan out, I guess. It's not my best management. This would not be a good tutorial for management. But I am trying some new things that I haven't tried before, and whenever you do that, you sometimes run into money problems. But I handled them, and we're getting around it. I wonder, where is all my money going to? Like, what is, with my budget, what is taking most of my money? So roads is a big thing. Also power and garbage. So I probably have too many roads for the size of my city. I need to really up my game on that somehow or another. I need to really zone in all this stuff that I have. I got a lot of extensions out, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it alone for now. Oh, look, now I'm making some bank. I just had to wait for all these folks to move in and actually have some water, I think. That helped immensely. So now I'm making some money. It ought to get a lot better real quick. Bringing in a lot more people over here. Probably need to build an airport somewhere. We need to plan an airport. Wonder if we want to plan to have like an airport on another island and then have them connect with a ferry or something. Honestly, that would not be abnormal. Sorry about hitting that mic, by the way. Or we need to put it someplace over here. I wonder if, having it right here would be the way to go. And look at all these cruise ships coming in, trying to fill up all of that zoning. So I'm getting an influx of people, because this is the only way in and out of my city right now is through this port. And this port's going to become overwhelmed. So having an airport is going to be pretty essential pretty quick here. Problem is I don't really have the money for it. So, to have a regular airport, there's a cargo airport, which honestly would make some sense. At some point, we might want to put an international airport of some sort. So, how would that look? The slope is too steep. It's not that sloped. I don't quite get that. I get the not enough money part, but I don't get the slope too steep part. Might have to level out an area. Yeah, because I think it's just too variegated. So, but I wonder if we want to go ahead and have an airport. And honestly, I'd want to put it something like that. That makes some sense to me. And this road here would literally go into the airport, I think. And then that could continue out to that there. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to level out that land. So we want to go with level terrain. I'm going to right click to select my terrain height. You could also manually do it here. So instead of 48.95, I could just say 49 or 50. Click enter and it'll do it. And here, let's get that out of my way. Don't need that. And so then I affect my brush size here. This is extra landscaping tools, by the way. This is not stock. And I'm going to do a hard edge here. And Then we just kind of level it all out. And there we go. And then we can go over here to soften along the edges here so that it doesn't look so funky. And there you go. And now when I go back over here, I ought to... It's not about the leveling of terrain. It's simply about the money, which takes $250,000. I actually might not take too long before I get there. And I wouldn't mind having an international airport just to boot, just to have that capacity. But you know what? It might also be smarter to go for a regular airport, which is going to cost $150,000 instead of $250,000. So I'm only 50 grand away from that. I'm willing to bet, though, there is some commercial demand. So I'm going to go ahead and zone this up here. And I'm going to do so with these little roads here. I think it makes some sense here that I go this way rather than continuing the elongation just because it's going along the park here. And we can have some smaller little streets here. Just like that. And we want to have at least, one cross street or two right there. And we can continue this on here and maybe have like another one right there. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I do want to have that connection though. I don't want to necessarily do it on the main roads here though. You want to somewhat limit that, and so we'll go there. And then we do want to go to a higher density. I think we do. At least for that section there. And we can go back to a lower density for this section here. Here we go. All right. Make sure we have our water, which we do. And did we ever put a high school in? I forget. We did not. So we need to do that as well. I think we'll stick the high school somewhere along here. Makes some sense to me. I think right there is great. Yeah. So we're not going to have 100%, and that's okay. We don't want 100% educated, right? We just want enough. I think we have a severe lack of capacity here, so I do need to put another one of these down, and maybe have it out by the park. Yeah, we'll do it like right there. And then speaking of the park, let's go ahead and extend that or work on that, shall we? So the park here, need to slightly alter it. And it's okay that if your park goes into your zoning. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter what the boundaries are, as long as the boundaries include where you want to connect to the city. So that doesn't matter as much because ultimately it's where you put all the other stuff, right? Now, I wish I could turn that part off because it just doesn't... It makes it harder to me to draw all of this. But alas, it is the way it is. So I think we're going to have connection there. Obviously, we'll have some sort of connection here. Let's do it there. And space already occupied. No, 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 we can't have that. So, a little anarchy. I love the anarchy mod. Does so well for me. Okay. And so, if nothing else, we'll just connect these across the way there. And it'll literally become a pedestrian commuting pathway there. And people that don't want to necessarily have to pay, they can go obviously on the streets there. But then we also need to connect it this way, right? So we'll go ahead and start off here. And at some point we need to don't I have need a page up. I think 12 meters is kind of high, but it's doing it at a large junction at a time. Well, I don't really have a choice, so I'll just go up to 12 meters, but I think I'm going to need to start from like way back here then. I would have just done 9 meters. See, now it's just doing it a little bit at a time, right? Oh, what changed? I don't understand. Okay, but oh, that's fine. Nine meters ought to be more than enough. And then we'll bring it back home. Press the home key. To, I don't know, right about there. And we'll go back down to that. And then I'm just going to go to like normal, whatever that is. And bring it back up to 9 meters. 9 meters is the number for me. Whenever you're doing a crossing, 9 meters is all you need. Go back home. And yeah, go nice and straight. Now obviously this is all going straight and the thing is curving around, but then I can stop and I can start it back up over here and there's nothing wrong with that. And yeah. Yeah, and it's getting some good use, and I literally haven't even really built anything in here yet. So might put, like a climbing frame over here. Every once in a while you want one of those. It's basically a playground. That's really what that is. And maybe have one trampoline park going on in here. It says it needs power. Oh, it got the power though when I built that last thing. Oh, good. Okay, and yeah, put some gazebos in. Well, upgraded that park. Just needed the fun, essentially. Maybe put like a small little gazebo there. Another one here. So people will go to play, but they'll also just use it to transport. And let's see, it's probably a lot of that money is coming from that park. I guarantee it. Where's my park name? Oh, it's down over here, Anchor Hill. So visitors this week, 479. I'm making $9,000, right? So I could afford to bring that ticket price down, but I'm not gonna. I do want to rename it though. Let's name this. I don't know. We'll name it something after somebody. So who shall I name it after? All of this got abandoned. All of this got abandoned here because I probably don't have enough education. I need a university for those to work well. That's something I should think about. Okay, going back to naming this. What shall I name it? Let's do something Australian. So I'll do like a Walker Park. There we go. Walker Park it shall be. Alright, and it's looking good. This does not look good, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to rezone it to be low density for now. So I'm not ready to do the university. And that will work just fine. And now we can afford our airport, which is fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and build my airport. We can afford the big one. I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. Go for the gusto. Might as well. Okay. So. Right there. All right. So now, we need to connect it up. I'll pause it so that I'm not spending all this money without at least having it connected. And let's see here. Might just have that kind of go there, I think. Makes some sense. Just like that. And then we'll go over here. I like to use this the one lane one way. So we'll connect it up. Really, I want it to go over and connect up. The one problem with the one lane one way is you can't. There's no. There's no bridge. It can't bridge because it's considered an alley. Is essentially what it is. So. Best I can do is a 2-lane one way, like this. Go up to 9 meters again. Bridge over. Go on home, so to speak. I think I want to go ahead and eliminate any zoning that it might have. It doesn't need zoning. All right, and so it's going to connect here, but then I also need to get things to go out from there. So I think I'm going to turn this off, just like that. Yeah. And whenever you do something like this with the anarchy on, you just got to grab the node and pull it away from the road that you got it on, right? And it'll work better. Also, you don't want it too severe of an angle. You want to give it a little bit of angle in, just like that, right? And so then I can grab this. I'm going to hold down Alt. And then I'm going to move it until that curve snaps in. And so it's a nice clean curve. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do the same here. So it's all one nice smooth curve. Now one thing I would say is that needs to go up a bit. We might go ahead and make that a bridge. There. That looks better. That's a bit severe there, but there's not too terribly much I can do. The best I can do is I can grab this node and try and move it closer to here, essentially. And I'm holding down Alt to keep that snap in. And I'm going to literally have it come up onto the sidewalk a little bit there. And try and reduce the severity of that as much as I can. Another way I can deal with that is I could take these nodes here, and I think I will do this, and I'll take those nodes there. I know the height is appropriate between them all, and I'll just page down so that the height overall doesn't have to be as big, even though the relative heights between the two roads will be the same, right? And so that looks a lot cleaner. And so actually I can bring this down as well. This is a nice clean bridge here. And I could actually probably make that go back to attaching to the ground. Oh, gotta click on that. And that still looks good, right? And so then the other thing you want to think about is that slope too severe? And I don't think it is. I think it's just fine. Right, and so this sinks down a little bit, and then that goes over, and it kind of, goes half and half, and it makes it look a lot cleaner, in my opinion. And since it's my city, that's the one that matters, right? All right, I'm going to turn the street lights off. I don't want to have any street lights here. And now we move on to the next part. So, whenever you have an airport, you usually have a loop so that, if you go through and you can't pick the person up, then you go back around to go for another go. They have cell phone waiting lots now too, but that's how that works nowadays a lot of times. So then what you're going to do, we want to do this, yes. Right, one thing you want to do is also, we're going to connect it to here. And then we're going to right click and then right click so it'll go the direction we actually want it to go. And I'm going to pull this out just a bit. Just like that. There we go. All right. But we also want to be able to come in and go around and connect up to that. So how are we going to do that? So this one, honestly, I'm going to go back to here and make it just the one. And because of that kinked that up, so I need to work on that a little bit. So it needs to go out to about right there, it looks like. And then this curve just needs to follow. All right. And then I go back to my 2-lane one, and I'm going to connect at the same point. But this time I'm going to have it come around this way. And I'm going to have it bridge up to and detach from here to 9 meters. And it's going to come over, and obviously it's going to go the other direction, so I'm going to go and attach to all of these, and I'm just going to press home to go back down to ground level, and click here, and then click in here, and then what I can go do is I can make that just one, right? And one thing I want to do, oops, too far. It's a bridge too far. All right, there we go. All right. Now, you notice that I don't have a pillar there because I got my anarchy on it. It's just needs to be moved a little bit, and the pillar will show up. No biggie. You also obviously want this to show. So this is a tough one. There we go. You want that arrow to be straight, okay? Because it will be treated as a straight road rather than a turn, and that makes a big difference on the speed. So that's what you want. Then obviously I'll go over to here, and we'll right click on all of these to have them go the other direction. And we also obviously need to work on this connection here. There we go. Now, obviously, I'd rather have this be just one lane. And so what I can do to make that happen is I could go and make it the off-ramp here. It actually doesn't look bad, right? And I like that, so I'm going to keep that. And I could do it here as well, or what I could do is I could have it be the alleyway, at least till it gets to the bridge, and then be the alleyway again over here. It does not look bad at all. In fact, I like that very much. Okay, we do need to work on this a little bit. So I think it's honestly it's this one. There we go. That looks good. And so now I need a alt click to get that curve appropriate, and that looks good. I'll redo that one. There we go. So how does it look? So the only other thing I think I need to do is have this one here come off of here and attach in over here. And I kind of want it to be curved the other direction. Oy vey. Aren't we having fun with this? Why is it getting so bent out of shape? Quite literally, right? So let's see. Just about length. Somehow want to get that arrow straight without completely... See, it's still considering it a turn somehow. So I guess what I need to do is... there we go. I need to bring this one over. That's all I need to do. There we go. And then that obviously needs to be different than it was. There we go. And then obviously we need to turn off the street light there. And I think I will move, I think I will move this closer to there and move that closer as well. And there we go. Perfect. Do that down just a wee bit so that that slope is not quite as severe. Looks good. Alright, so I like the grading on pretty much everything. Well, honestly, except for that part doesn't look as good. Let's make sure we're there. That doesn't help much. So I can, I'm not trying to move that tree, come on. So pulling this out over here maybe. It's gonna help. And then we obviously need to bring this back in, rein that in. So maybe I need to curve it, but I need to curve it closer to over there. There we go. like that. And then we obviously need to there we go. So I have that one thing sticking up through there, and I kind of don't like that. I don't know that there's much I can do about that. Maybe. It's always got to be somewhat right there. Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. And then there we go. All right. So there it is. Okay. So now I have all that figured out and done. Now I'll manage my lanes here. So for this, I just want people to come in that way. Right, I don't want them to be turning across the street. So this is more or less being treated like a highway. More or less. Right? And then same thing with here. We want this one lane. Well, it can go anywhere it wants. I didn't really need to do this. Okay. And then here we want one lane to go on one side and one lane to go on the other. All right, and then over here, oh, it's a turn again. Something changed. So let's go back to our Move It mod and see if we cannot fix that. Oh, we can't. So somehow I need a. There we go. I'm gonna hold down Alt and fix this. Maybe, hopefully, trying to. Ugh. That's pretty rough, I'll be honest. There we go. Oop, I had it right. There we go. How's all that look? All right. There we go. All right, so now we'll go back to the lane management here and have it just go into the one lane. And the same thing over here. We want it to just be from the one lane. And there we go. One final one. So this really, there's only one lane for it to go into, so it has to merge. So that looks like a 2-lane road, but it's one lane each way, which, for the love of me, I would love to be able to change that. I would love to be able to say, okay, you know what? I want that to be a 1-lane 2-way or something like that. Alas, we can't, so yeah, we'll deal with it. No big deal. All right, and yeah, that ought to work really nice and smoothly. And oh look, we're already getting some good traffic going on here, so we're gonna have to manage that in a little bit, which makes sense, right? I mean, everything that goes to industry and from industry is having to go on that one stretch of road, so it makes some sense that there's some traffic there. Let's deal with the power here. We're just going to use the small little power lines. I'm going to bring it from this pole like it's connected to that one light there. And straight to there, just like that. And then water-wise, easy enough to deal with. Alright. And there we go. Now we have our airport. Now, we're 25 grand left to spare. And I expect that we will be getting a lot of traffic in soon. Airport traffic in. Gotta let it run for just a little while. Now that's one thing that you don't see on the when I just do videos rather than live streams. You don't see me do some of the boring stuff where you're having to watch it now. Sorry, I can't make the game just go faster. Could probably do some sort of detailing while I'm waiting though. I use this time to usually think through my next move, so let's think it through aloud, shall we? So I have all this land here that probably will be commercialized, I think. I don't know, this looks like it might be a decent park, or I don't know if we want to commercialize. I could say actually making this like nightlife, being the club scene down over here along the coast here. So you get off the boat and you go straight to the clubs. I could see that. And then that this park is going to go all the way through, and at some point we need to connect to the beach there, and we're going to have to set up our beach. I wonder if we want to make that really a separate nature preserve versus continuing this one park, but I don't know, I tend to like it being one big park. There's something about that I like. Let's check in on our industry here. So I'm not really importing any goods. I'm exporting a heck of a lot of goods. So that tells me that I have a lot of goods overproduction, which if you look at this makes some sort of sense. One thing I would say is it's probably about time once we get this. We got the airport, right? But we also could use the cargo harbor. Now, I don't think we need to do a train. There's just this is going to be the entirety of my industry. And I don't think this is a big enough island to have a railroad. So, I think I'll just set this up like over here. Like this. And really what I need to do is, besides having it connect well to this, I need to have it connect well to whatever that quote-unquote highway is going to be that's gonna go through. Needs to connect up with this so that you can bring it straight over to your commercial areas. I wonder if we want to have one little road go along the coast here to bypass. So it doesn't have to go through here. It can also go along to here. May want to do that, so I think I'm going to. So, well, it is a 2-lane, but I want all of my traffic to be coming in from the right to the left. Let's make this clear. Right, so I think we're going to have a... Where is it? Oh, there it is. So we're going to have the 4-lane national highway here. And it's going to go through right here. But then it's going to curve around. And go straight to here. And actually, I think we'll have an interchange here, so gonna do a straight slope, and we're gonna pick this up to 9 meters right there. Go straight, I think. And then bring it on back down to home. Like that. To continue on its lovely path through the city. which will turn up here and then eventually curve all the way around. Don't have enough money to do it like that, but curve all the way through, and that'll be my highway system essentially. So there's that. But right now we'll just focus on doing this connection here. So home. It's really not that kind of connection. This is the highway, not that one. So first off, let us have this be a bridge. And same thing there. And then we'll lift this up a little bit. Looks like we could lift this up a little bit. Maybe have that actually go down a little bit. I could go down and go back to being ground attached. Heck, why not? We'll just Alt and then move this down a little bit. Like that. Now, this power line ain't gonna work like that. I think we'll have to see if I can't grab it. Because right now, if I just, it'll bring that up, but it's not going to bring the actual power line up. Part of the reason is that's in the way, honestly. Really what's going on. So let's bring that up. And we'll Control Z. And we'll bring this back into the fold. There we go. All right. Now, that'll work. That'll do it. Okay, so now we're going to have our intersection here. So really, I think anything coming from this direction, I don't necessarily, it'll want to go that way. So I wonder if we want to make this a diverging diamond or something eventually. We got to think. I'm trying to think this through. It's going to be a very major thoroughfare here. You know, this will probably just go straight over, I think, and connect. In fact, we can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and... Yeah, we got the money to do it, so let's go ahead and do that where we are just... hit the home key, and then it can be attached now. Oh, I do want it to be curved, and it'll literally connect right there to the center, so it'll be a good thoroughfare. Now, instead of what I just did though, I might have it be this thing here. Now, at some point, no, I do want it to be bridge. These are all way too high. Don't know why it did that. Actually, I kind of do, but don't like that it did it. So I'm gonna fix it. Yeah, that looks better. There we go. Wait, come on. There we go. I don't like how funky it looks. I think that'll look better. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I know I spend a lot of time on the details, guys. It's what I like to do. So I'm just gonna let it go slow, and continue to bring that money in. I wonder if this wants to also be a connection or not. I think this is just a direct connection from the industry over to the rest of the city here that's currently built. This definitely I need to have be some sort of thing. I wonder if you also just do like a little slip lane. Nice little slip lane in. So it's actually coming like that. So it'd actually be like a slip lane off. Have this be much more straight. More like that. There we go. Right click to get it to go the other direction. And then we want to manage this height here. Yeah. Very uneven terrain on this map, which is actually I like because it creates a nice challenge for you. So there's that. At some point you want to be able to come off and go in. So I wonder if we just do that here. Just like that. Now, why this is all elevated, I don't know. It shouldn't necessarily be. And obviously we need to fix that up. There we go. So this can be much more straight. In fact, be actually straight. There we go. Yeah, like that. And then it needs to go the other direction. So I'm just right clicking to get that to happen. And then we'll manage our lanes here. So this is really planning ahead for the future. It's not really helping anything that is currently built, what I'm doing here. Yeah, that can take care of itself. Okay. Right, because we're going to have this cargo be attached to this freeway here. So this is great for leaving and coming in from the future city, not the current city. The current city goes through this line here. But we also want to be able to have this connect to the highway. And, on some level we want to be able to connect to here. So I think we need to have some sort of line coming from here and turning into here. I don't know if we want it to interact with this though. That's one thing is kind of don't. Maybe we have it go in here and just do like a little turn lane. Yeah, and the thing is I just put this in here, but the problem with this is it's actually interfering with what I would be doing here. You don't want an on-ramp and then an off-ramp to be too close to each other. That does cause issues in this game. Let's think this through, guys. Let's put it in and see what happens, and when traffic happens, we'll all just deal with it later. All right. So more stuff to detail in. There we go. Obviously want that to come off a little bit less steep. All right. That actually looks really good. All right, let's go ahead and let it play. I bet you we will start, we'll start getting people coming in here, bypassing all of that, essentially, because it's faster. It's got a higher speed limit. And we do want to manage this, though. So here, you're going to only be able to go to there. So you're not going to be able to turn left there. You're going to have to wait till the next intersection and turn left if you're coming off of this thing. And that makes sense, right? We don't necessarily need to duplicate this. And then wherever this is going to come around like this, but we do need to bring it in and connect somehow or another. You know, this makes a lot of sense for what the future of the city is going to be, but it makes very little sense for what the current city is. So, but look, this traffic is dissipated somehow, and I think that's by this here. So, let's just let that be for now, and then go ahead and move on to the next phase of this project, which is to bring it on around here. And I wonder if you just don't actually connect straight up on some level. Or if we actually want to bypass and go all the way back around and kind of make a loop. Interesting. Let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll actually change this up to be more turning in, because this will be the line that comes through. Okay. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to have it come around, and for now, I'm just going to connect it like that. Eventually what it's going to do, it's going to go over just like this was, and it'll go through and around. But for now, it'll just do that number. And then this, instead of turning right, you know, this will be the one that turns left there. And so this one can actually connect. So really, what I got to figure out is how will it connect. Obviously, that bridge I just made will have to go away, and I'll mess with that in a second. But I wonder if we want to just bring it in and connect it, or if we want to bring it across the thing. Yeah, I think we just bring it in and connect it here so that this park stays pristine. Doesn't have another crossing. Doesn't need another crossing, I don't think. So. Oh yeah, that looks so ugly. I think, no, it's not that I have the straight slope on, but something's not right as well with the whole thing. It's okay. And that's why we have the movement mod, so we can fine tune everything. Interesting. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a nifty little thing here that's just one lane each way in parking. I'm going to make this that. Right? Let's turn that light off, and then we will manage our lanes here. So that'll go there or there. This will go here or here. And this will go here or here. Right, and then this one, so obviously for a left turn rather. And it can go straight. Do we want it to also go here? I think so. This one really only goes there or there, which is different than the way the game had it set up, even though it looks the same. That one can go in any direction, I think. Yeah, and those can go in any direction. I think that's fine. Yeah. I think that'll work. You know, I see this intersection becoming a problem and having to alter things, but for now we'll leave it be. In fact, because I have this, I probably don't need this at all. because this is basically another version of what that was. It's creating a faster bypass of this one line here. So that makes some sense to me, so that's what we'll do. Yeah. All right, so now we have our little U loop. We need to connect it to here. And I think the way to do that is just through this nifty little thing here. Now, we want it to be going that direction, counterclockwise. So, there we go. And then we will literally just, I think, call that a date on some level. Let's go over here and get this to, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That looks better. Alright, now we'll manage our lanes. I like having that arrow be straight before I manage the lanes. It does tend to work better. Alright. I do need to make sure that that is not a turn there. No, thank you, sir. You can, however, I don't mind you lane switching here. Alright. So now that's going to create a lot of traffic. So what we need to do is we need to connect this up to here from here. So we'll create a pathway here. Let's just do a straight slope and see how it works, how it does it on its own. We'll go straight up to 9 meters here. Bring it back home, so to speak. We'll take that off. All right. So, I think that can be pulled back quite a bit. Maybe too much. There we go. There we go. I think all this can be heightened straight up to there. I'm okay with that. And ooh, I don't like that, so we'll raise that up. And we'll connect this up here. Yeah. Oh, we need a power and water out to it. We can do that. We can manage that, I think. There's our power and our water. And there we go. Nice little port connection there. I do foresee this maybe backing up and causing some problems. So what we can do is we can maybe have the queue come out here, do a U-turn, and then connect it somehow. You maybe even do something like this. Really, at some point, this is basically just a queue, is what this is, and why it's not on the main road here. That's why I didn't just bring the roads here and connect. A lot of people, including me, would do that. Just bring it here and connect straight, and it probably would have worked fine. But eventually, your traffic will just get too great. And so having we need to improve the speed limit. I think here. Let's do 100 all the way around. So I noticed a lot of these guys are turning right, which is a bit surprising. Let's see where they end up trying to go. What we could do is make that a non-intersection, essentially. Same here. We need to turn this traffic light off, I know that much. Oh, I see what's going on. So they're coming, they're importing cargo here, and the only way for it to get back to the industry is for it to come here, go around, and come in, because I don't have any way for them to do so otherwise. So what I need to do is I need to basically connect off of this. So that needs to become a 2-lane one way. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. This is the one that goes in. This comes out. So they need to be able to come off here. So maybe we'll do something like this. This way like this. Bring it on home. Oh, I didn't click that button the way I thought I did. Alright. It's okay. We can fix it. There we go. No, this one needs to be these ramps, and it just needs to not look so funky. There we go. There we go. All right. So let's manage this just a little bit. That'll probably help. It's saving, so bear with me a second here. There we go. There we go. That looks great. Okay, and so now we can separate this out properly. And so they'll make that decision back here on which lane they're going to go in. And most of them will come into this lane. And that'll alleviate all of that traffic that's going on right there. It is going to make this a main thoroughfare, so what I might have to end up doing is creating a larger road here, maybe making it to where you can't left turn on several of these intersections here. about? I mean, it's already backing up, right? So one of the things we might try and do is, first of all, make that not be treated as an intersection. Might also make it to where this yields, because that's clearly causing an issue. Because trucks are coming up here and turning right to go off here. It might force them to go down all these other streets to do so. Looks like we got some sort of funkiness going on here, so we need to manage that. There should be no pedestrians or nothing to worry about there. Same thing for this intersection. And see, the queue is already backing up. So, as I promised, I think what we need to do is take that section out and have it be a bit convoluted here. And we will need to make sure that we up the speed limit here. And at some level, there's only going to be so much I can do about this. I mean, it's already filled back up, the queue, but we got a lot of exports here. I mean, I guess I could have it loop all the way to over here or something. It's a bit baroque. Well, let's do it. Screw it. Could be fun. Fun and funky looking. If that don't do it, I don't know what will. Really, the way to solve this is you have multiple different ways for the cargo to export, but right now this is it. So this is all we got. I'm gonna let that kind of work out. I think part of it is there's just such a backlog of exports that we had. Yeah, so what I'm really going to need to do is I'm going to have to, instead of making it yield, have it to where it can only turn. Oh, just trying to make this go straight here. Which is not the intention. Yeah. So instead of there being a problem here, it's just going to create the problem over here. So one thing I'll do is I'll make sure that there's does that. There's no left turn here. And hopefully that'll, and it looks like it has, it'll kind of distribute the traffic out among more than just the one or two intersections. This is really what the problem was, is you're trying to have all this stuff come up here and turn in and cross where all of this is coming in, and it's just it's just like Ghostbusters. You don't want to cross the streams. So what I've basically made it do is, okay, instead of this guy coming here and going down, this guy is going to come across and go down, and that's how that works. I do have an abandonment issue here, and I wonder if it's a garbage piling up. Ooh, I haven't looked at my garbage in a long time. Luckily, I got plenty of money now, so I can really, I need to really address this issue, which I haven't. It's been lingering and not been addressed, so let's fix it, shall we? Alright, let us put another road here. Right there. Oh, I know what my problem is have that selected. There we go. Okay, that's better. Have those facilities empty, and we'll have plenty now. And that's probably going to reduce my income by quite a bit, but it's going to handle a problem that honestly has just been put off for too long. And there's a really bad traffic jam right now, but that's because I just plopped all of those at once in there, so it'll work itself out eventually. Oh, wait, look at all this. I'm going to leave it alone for a while, though. I think that will reduce. I don't think it's going to stay that long. I think there's just been an influx. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll find out soon enough, won't we? How's Walker Park doing over here? It is banking money, man. It is really making the difference for me. Right? So, let's see. We got 15,000 people. Mainly because this is all high density, and I have the mod on to where like it will be built. It's not a question of if it'll build, it's a question of if it's the right thing to be built. And this will all get fixed soon enough once that train of garbage trucks makes it out here. We've got a convoy going on over here. Those garbage trucks are starting to distribute, and that ought to fix that problem pretty quick here. Alright guys, so I think that's going to be it for my, not my podcast, but my live stream here. Let's see. How long have I been streaming? I don't even know, man. Looks like about 2 hours, yeah. It's late at night. I need to go to bed. I'm going to see not Infinity War, Endgame. I'm going to see Endgame with my family tomorrow, which ought to be a good experience there. I'm looking forward to that. I got to do a shameless plug for the 3 of you that are watching me right now. I do have a podcast called Mars Talk, marstalk.org. Space related. It has nothing to do with City Skylines, except that I do both. So if you are interested in space in any way or want to learn more about space, we will come out with we just came out with our first episode 2 weeks ago, and our next episode will come out on Monday Central Time in the United States. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later.